Hey everyone, Alex here. Today we're exploring 10 countries where Canadians may face serious travel challenges in 2025. Whether you're a solo traveler or just passionate about discovering the world, this guide is for you. Not every country is equally accessible or safe for Canadians, especially in the coming year. Always check the latest travel advisories before making plans, because things can change fast. Let's dive in and see which countries are giving Canadians a headache in 2025. Let's journey, in our minds, to a place shrouded in mystery and intrigue. First up, North Korea. A land often referred to as the Hermit Kingdom, it stands as the world's most closed-off country. Its borders are heavily guarded, and access is severely restricted, making it a place few outsiders ever get to see. For Canadians, the prospect of visiting isn't just difficult. It presents a near-impossible challenge. The barriers to entry are significant, and the risks involved are substantial. In fact, it's nearly impossible. The doors to this nation remain firmly shut for the vast majority of Canadian citizens. The Canadian government's advice is clear and unequivocal. Avoid all travel. This isn't merely a suggestion, it's a strong warning, highlighting the potential dangers that await those who attempt to enter North Korea. Entry is almost impossible, with stringent visa requirements and tight border controls, and even the few tours that are allowed are meticulously planned and tightly controlled, offering little freedom to explore independently. Every step is monitored, and interactions with locals are heavily restricted. Adding to the complexity, there's no Canadian embassy present in North Korea, so if anything goes wrong, from a lost passport to a serious medical emergency, you're completely on your own, without the support of your government. The risks, detention, misunderstanding, or worse, are real, significant, and simply not worth it. Even seemingly minor mistakes or unintentional offenses can have severe consequences. This is due to their opaque legal system, where the rules are often unclear and subject to interpretation. Remember, you're not just a tourist seeking a unique experience, you could inadvertently become a pawn in a larger geopolitical game, with implications far beyond your personal journey. The allure of the unknown, the desire to witness the enigmatic, is undeniably strong, but North Korea is best admired from afar, through documentaries, books, and the stories of others. Therefore, for Canadians in 2025, it's a destination best skipped, a place to avoid for the sake of your own safety and well-being. Save it for your maybe in another lifetime list, a distant dream rather than a near future plan. There are countless safer and equally rewarding adventures waiting for you out there, destinations where you can explore with peace of mind. So let's set our sights on those horizons instead and move on to the next country on our list. Next, Iran, a country of rich history, a cradle of civilization, and a land of breathtaking landscapes. It's also known for its warm and hospitable people, eager to share their culture with visitors. The vibrant bazaars filled with exotic spices and intricate crafts offer a sensory feast. However, despite its allure, Iran presents a significant diplomatic minefield for Canadians, a situation that requires careful consideration and awareness. Canada and Iran have no formal diplomatic ties, a situation that has persisted for several years, impacting consular services and overall relations. Consequently, there's no Canadian embassy in Tehran to provide direct assistance or support to Canadian citizens. Therefore, if you get into trouble while in Iran, whether it's a lost passport or a more serious emergency, you're essentially relying on the goodwill and capacity of other nations' embassies to offer assistance, which can be a risky and uncertain proposition. The level of support available may be limited. Even before you arrive, getting a visa to enter Iran is a complicated and often uncertain process, filled with bureaucratic hurdles. This process often involves navigating third-party agencies and intermediaries, adding layers of complexity and potential for delays. For Canadians who also hold Iranian citizenship, the situation becomes even more precarious, as the risks are significantly amplified. For dual nationals, the risks are even higher. This is because Iran, adhering to its own laws, simply doesn't recognize dual nationality. Consequently, if you're detained or encounter legal issues, Canadian officials have very limited ability to provide assistance or intervene on your behalf. The Iranian legal system is often perceived as opaque and difficult to navigate, especially for foreigners. Furthermore, prevailing political tensions and regional instability contribute to an unpredictable and potentially volatile environment. The detention of dual nationals on various charges, sometimes without clear justification, remains a real and concerning risk. The legal and political landscape can shift rapidly, with rules and regulations subject to change at any time, often without prior notice. In such circumstances, your Canadian passport offers only limited protection, and the assistance the Canadian government can provide is significantly constrained. While the allure of Iran's rich cultural heritage and architectural beauty is undeniable, the potential risks for Canadian citizens considering travel in 2025 are simply too high to ignore, warranting serious consideration. Therefore, visiting Iran is a destination that demands extreme caution and careful planning, if considered at all. It also requires a deep understanding of the complex political landscape and the potential implications for personal safety and security. For now, it's perhaps best to admire the wonders of Iran from a safe distance, appreciating its beauty through books, documentaries, and the stories of others. Let's keep moving forward and explore other destinations with fewer complexities. Next up on our list, Afghanistan. Afghanistan, a land of stunning mountains and deep history but also ongoing conflict. The Canadian government's advice: avoid all travel. The security situation is extremely volatile, with high risks of terrorism, kidnapping, and violent crime. There's no Canadian embassy or support system. Foreigners are prime targets for ransom or political leverage. The dangers are widespread and unpredictable. Afghanistan is simply too dangerous for tourism in 2025. Our hearts go out to its people, but for now it's off limits. Let's look at another country scarred by war: Syria. Syria, once a jewel of the Middle East, now deeply scarred by war. The Canadian government says, avoid all travel. Active conflict, terrorism, kidnapping, and shattered infrastructure make it extremely dangerous. Entry is nearly impossible, and there's no Canadian embassy. If you're detained or injured, you're on your own in a collapsed system. Online videos showing safe visits are misleading. The risks are real and severe. Syria's history is fascinating, but the wounds are too deep for tourism. For Canadians, it's a no-go zone in 2025. Respect the reality, some places need time to heal. Let's move to North Africa, Libya. Here's what you need to know. Libya, home to ancient ruins and the Sahara, but also ongoing chaos. Since 2011, Libya has been fractured by rival governments and militias. Law and order are inconsistent, and travelers have no safety guarantees. The Canadian government says, avoid all travel. No embassy, no consular help, and getting in or out can be impossible if violence erupts. Terrorism and kidnapping risks are extremely high, especially for Westerners. Your Canadian passport makes you a target, not a guest. Libya's beauty is overshadowed by conflict and danger. For Canadians, it's simply too perilous in 2025. Let's head to Yemen, another country in crisis. Here's why it's off limits. Yemen, stunning landscapes, but a devastating humanitarian crisis. The country is an active war zone, with infrastructure destroyed and basic needs scarce. The Canadian government and others say, avoid all travel. No commercial flights, blockades, and dangerous entry routes. Violence, airstrikes, and kidnapping are daily threats. No Canadian embassy means no help if you're in trouble. The focus is on delivering aid, not tourism. Yemen's beauty is buried under conflict and tragedy. For now, Canadians should support peace efforts from afar. Let's look at Saudi Arabia. Open, but complicated. Here's what to expect. Saudi Arabia is opening up to tourism, but for Canadians it's complicated. Diplomatic tensions linger, so entry rules can change quickly. Tourist visas are available, but scrutiny is higher for Canadians. Saudi Arabia is deeply conservative, with strict laws and customs. Alcohol is illegal, and criticism of the government or religion is a serious offense. Solo travelers, especially women, face extra challenges due to gender segregation. Cultural awareness and respect for local rules are essential. It's not a no-go zone, but it's not simple either. For Canadians in 2025, proceed with caution and do your homework. The sights are incredible, but the context is complex. Next, let's talk about Russia. Russia, a land of epic landscapes, stretching from the Baltic Sea to the Pacific Ocean. A country steeped in rich culture, history, and artistic traditions, but now, unfortunately, a high-risk destination for Canadians. The political climate has shifted dramatically, making travel fraught with potential challenges. The ongoing war in Ukraine, a conflict that has reshaped global geopolitics, and the subsequent economic sanctions imposed by Canada and other Western nations have soured relations, creating a tense and hostile environment. Diplomatic ties are strained and trust is at a low. As a result, Canadians are increasingly seen as citizens of an unfriendly country, a label that carries significant implications for travelers. Getting a visa to enter Russia has become considerably harder, with stricter requirements and longer processing times. The bureaucratic hurdles are higher than ever before. Furthermore, local laws are often enforced arbitrarily, leaving visitors vulnerable to unpredictable and potentially unfair treatment. There's a lack of transparency and consistency in the legal system. Even a seemingly innocuous social media post, a comment or a like could be misconstrued and get you in trouble with the authorities. Freedom of expression is severely limited. Financial sanctions mean your credit and debit cards simply won't work within the country. Electronic transactions are largely impossible. Therefore, you'll need to carry a substantial amount of cash, which presents its own set of risks and logistical challenges. While the Canadian Embassy remains open, its capacity to provide assistance is significantly limited due to staffing constraints and diplomatic tensions. Russia is becoming increasingly isolated from the rest of the world, and as a visitor, you would likely find yourself similarly isolated, cut off from familiar support networks. The risk of being caught in the crossfire of political conflict or becoming a pawn in diplomatic maneuvering is a very real and present danger. For now, Russia is best appreciated from afar, through documentaries, books, and the experiences of others. The allure of its history and beauty is undeniably strong, but the potential danger and risks currently outweigh the rewards for Canadian travelers. For now, it's wise to keep it on your maybe someday list, a destination to revisit when circumstances improve. Let's now turn our attention to Belarus, Russia's neighbor and close ally. Here's what Canadians need to know before considering travel to Belarus. Belarus, Europe's last dictatorship closely tied to Russia. Political tensions and repression make it risky for Canadians. The government cracks down on dissent, and foreigners face high scrutiny. Activities like taking photos or discussing politics can lead to trouble. No Canadian embassy on the ground. Help is slow and complicated. Canadians are seen as coming from a hostile state. The risk of being used as a political pawn is real. The rules are unpredictable and support is minimal. For 2025, it's best to avoid Belarus and focus on safer destinations. Let's finish with one of the world's most closed countries, Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan, Central Asia's golden cage, famous for its isolation. Getting a visa is extremely difficult, and most visits are on tightly controlled tours. The government monitors all movement, and independent travel is nearly impossible. The country is highly repressive, with strict rules and heavy surveillance. No Canadian embassy. Help is far away if things go wrong. Communication is restricted and the infrastructure isn't tourist-friendly. Visiting feels more like entering a curated museum than a real country. The gates of hell may tempt adventurers, but the reality is restriction and uncertainty. For Canadians, Turkmenistan is best left for another time. Let's wrap up with some final travel advice. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the world's most challenging destinations. Always check official travel advisories and stay informed before you go. Being prepared is the best way to travel safely and enjoyably. If you found this helpful, please subscribe for more travel updates. Safe travels wherever your adventures take you. The world is waiting, so travel smart and stay safe.